to a very exciting episode of Sit Down with Smock, as I have Mayor Mrs. Gross with us today. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Colby.
She's actually our first outside guest. So I've had a couple of shows ahead of this, but she's the first one that is not working in the Twin Lakes building. But as you will learn, she has big plans for Twin Lakes building. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you about that. We appreciate you being on the show. I'm really excited.
Thank you for having me.
Let's
And
get started.
I'm incredibly humbled to be your first outside guest. I'm very excited about this.
I appreciate that. So let's start with, give us a little background of how you became the mayor, and I know you've worn a lot of hats in government, so.
I have, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I did know I wanted to serve the public in some capacity. We can go into my, diverse past later if we have time, but my most recent, forays into government was as city councilor and ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act coordinator. Now that's a mouthful, but basically, basically what that is every community in the country is required to follow the federal law of the ADA and the Civil Rights Act. Now, here in Indiana, as around the country, the ADA is celebrating 30 years. So you would think we would probably be pretty far along on this. However, Indiana, as well as many other states, well, you weren't here yet, probably.
No, yeah.
But 30 years ago is when we started seeing handicap parking spaces go in, and signs and push button doors and all those things. And that was good, and but like a lot of things, the intensity waned and things just kind of slowed down. So about 10 years ago, Federal Highway, who holds the bulk of federal dollars for communities, reached out to different states, Indiana being one of them, and most of them around the country, truth be told, and said, we've not seen the focus that we need to see.
They basically called you out for
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only did they say, you need to do more, they said your federal money is dependent upon it.
Oh, geez.
So.
That'll make people
Absolutely.
get on their A game.
Absolutely, makes you sit up and take notice.
Yeah.
So the city of Monticello, like other communities, got a letter from INDOT, which is the Indiana Department of Transportation, who answers to Federal Highway. And they said, you know what, Monticello, as well as other communities, you're not gonna qualify for any money moving forward until you have a transition plan.
Jeez.
So we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
So that all of a sudden became a very urgent job, something that was being forgotten was like top of the list now.
Absolutely. Great job
Yeah.
for picking up on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes some communities didn't grasp it as quickly as Monticello did. Yes.
Yeah.
And without going into too much detail, I was a city councilor at the time. The mayor asked me to pick up this ball and run with it, if you will. And I was happy to do that. So I'll just kind of condense this by saying, prior to that, the city of Monticello had approximately $15,000 a year to spend on accessible sidewalks, curbs, programs, and facilities. Fast forward 7 years later, we've received over $3 million in 7 years. To make that possible, we had an ADA coordinator, and we being the city of Monticello are now we're considered a leader in the state.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. And another thing I want people to understand too is maybe they don't understand exactly what the ADA Act is or how it affects them, because they think, oh, it's just people with disabilities. But it really affects everybody, because like I remember you came to our class, Mrs. Conrad's class actually. You were telling us about the ADA Act there, so can you kind of explain a little bit how that affects everybody?
Sure, absolutely. So the Americans with Disabilities Act says that anyone, everyone in your community, in your country, in the world should have access to anything the government provides. For one, they should provide for another.
Yeah.
So this is someone with access needs, someone in a wheelchair, a walker, on crutches, someone with intellectual challenges, hearing impairment, vision, the mentally ill.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that, and
Mhm.
that's probably something that they were trying to include more, I'm guessing.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's actually always been included.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
good.
with the focus now, trying to destigmatize mental illness
Yeah.
in the community,
Perfect.
saying that, mental illness is no different than any other illness. The way I describe that is, if you know someone is a diabetic, and
Mhm.
they are on their insulin, and they're taking it, and they're symptom-free, they still are a diabetic, even though they're symptom-free.
Gotcha.
Mental illness is the same thing. If they're mentally ill, they've been diagnosed, they're taking their medications, they may be symptom-free, but they are still garnered the same rights and
Yeah.
responsibilities that anyone else does, unless
Yeah.
it involves criminal behavior.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then
Yeah.
that's a whole nother
Different
bailiwick,
level, yeah. But I see what you're saying too, they have to keep getting that care in order to stay symptom free, or else, if you stop, then you're in trouble.
Absolutely,
That's with any physical or mental illness. for sure.
absolutely. Mhm.
For sure.
So, and when we're talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act, it's important to remember, it's not just about ramps and sidewalks, it's
Mhm.
about programs and services. So, for example, at the city park, at the pool, we have the
Okay.
lift chair,
Yes, yeah.
so that people with, access needs can actually have
Join the
access to
pool,
the
yeah.
pool. We partnered with the Community Foundation, the DNR, the Rotary Club, and Monticello has one of the few fully accessible kayak and canoe launches in the state.
Really?
At Blue Water.
That is
So,
awesome.
that is
really
very exciting.
Yes.
So, what we want to make sure is that Monticello is a livable community for everyone.
Yeah.
For the young, for the old, with people with disabilities, those that don't happen to have one now, but may
But it
have
could
one in
happen,
the future.
yes.
So, and that's how communities grow. I equate it down to the Americans with Disability Act. There's a lot of reasons to follow it. Number one, it's the law.
Yes, yeah.
Number two, our money depends on it.
Yeah.
Number three, it makes good business sense because you're opening a new demographic of consumer. But number four, and most importantly, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So.
That is awesome.
So-
That is awesome that you say that, because now all of a sudden you go from ADA coordinator with these ideas of like trying to keep everybody equal and trying to get the best for everybody in our city, to now you're the mayor.
Mhm.
And that's awesome.
Well,
You
thank you.
could not ask for a better mayor that's going to, the mayor, you want someone who's gonna focus on everybody, not just, the wealthy, the poor, the healthy, the unhealthy,
Absolutely.
And it's exciting to hear that you're focused on everybody.
Well, and part of that is this outreach with the youth, with being
Yeah.
here with you today.
Yeah.
I was so excited when you reached out to me because one of my initiatives is a Youth Leadership Council.
Okay.
And I'm working with Mrs. Whitehead here at
Okay.
the school to try and schedule a monthly minute with the mayor. So I'll be at a table during the lunch period, maybe definitely once a month.
Yeah.
If it's a
Okay.
monthly minute.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
be there
Yeah.
to answer questions, to have conversations. I'll bring my different department heads to say, come and talk to
Okay.
about why young people might want to serve after they go to college, why they might wanna come home and work with our utilities or public works or public safety. I hope, I have this really big dream
Yeah.
that we can partner with Ivy Tech or Purdue or a educational group where we can combine with Twin Lakes and have dual credits for public service training, because
Okay.
working in the public sector is totally different than the private.
Yes.
And have our young people understand the difference and say, well, that might be something I'm interested in, because what we know is we have a gap.
Gotcha. So could you kind of explain too the difference between the private and public sector, maybe just to clarify that a little bit for the people that don't understand as much?
Sure, the easiest way to describe it is, in the public sector, we answer to everyone who pays any tax, whether it's on a Coke or a meal,
Okay.
or, any taxpayer, everyone we answer to, because the taxpayer is our employer. The voter, the taxpayer, that's who we are responsible to. In private industry,
Yeah.
they're responsible to the owner,
Gotcha.
their board of directors, and it's a different mindset. So for example, for the city of Monticello, we have to make sure that everything we do in a fair and equitable way. And you probably remember this discussion. Equitable versus equality are two different things. So if we say everything's equal, everybody's gonna pay $100 for their water bill, no matter if they've used $100 worth or not. That's not right,
Yeah.
okay? But equitable means you use the amount, you pay for that amount. It's what's fair for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, taxpayers, deserve that, it's the law, and that's it's the right thing to do. Not saying businesses don't do the same, but businesses have a little more leeway.
Yeah.
Hey, I think my widget's worth $100, whether
Yeah.
you do or not, I'm gonna charge you $100.
Yeah, exactly. I see, yeah, for sure. So was that the first news of the, your youth ideas to anybody other than Mrs. Whitehead? Has this been public yet?
It has
idea?
not, this is
Okay.
the first
So
we've
that's
talked about it.
breaking news right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exciting.
And in these visits, in these monthly minutes here at the school,
Yeah.
I hope to recruit young people like yourself to serve on a youth leadership council
Okay.
that will help us determine an initiative that is youth-driven, what's important to you.
Yeah.
And then we'll work together to present that to the city council and see if we can initiate a change that you want to see. I mean, I think Monticello's pretty great,
Yeah.
but that we can always
We can always
change
get
and
better.
make things
Yeah,
better,
for sure.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
And we need to know what you want. I'm the old lady here. I know what I would like, but I need to know what you and your generation want and need to come back
Yeah.
and stay.
That's awesome. That is really exciting because I'm sure a lot of people don't think that way. They wanna do what they wanna do. They're not willing to, kind of especially the different generations. Cause everybody, this is a thing, all the younger kids, I don't know if you've heard the joke, okay boomer.
Oh, yeah.
That joke.
Yeah, I'm a boomer, so yeah, I've heard
I
it.
had to bring it up, I had to get
It's
it
all
in there, cause I
good,
knew you'd
it's
be
all
okay
good.
with that.
Absolutely.
But that joke, and then obviously the older people like to call the younger generations millennials and stuff
Right.
like that.
Gen
And I know-
Xers
Yeah, and all
and
that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an insult, but it's kind of like, a little back and forth between the different generations, but it's cool to see that you wanna try to bring them together and really get on the
Absolutely.
same page.
Well, each generation is shaped by the events of their lifetime.
Mhm.
So my parents, they were called the traditionalists,
Yeah.
They fought World War II in Korea. They didn't have a lot to say, it was follow orders or
Yeah.
die.
Yeah, geez.
So then, when it came to me, the baby boomers, we were peace, love,
Yeah.
and doing my own thing and, all that good stuff. They, being a boomer was, sacrilege to them. Everything they stood for, was being thrown out the window because we were thinking freely and cool man,
Yeah,
and, all that good
My
stuff.
grandma definitely
Yeah.
informs me about that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think I met your grandma the other day.
You could have, yeah.
well,
This is-
the age I am at a funeral home.
That's too bad, but yeah.
But it was a pleasure to meet her.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to millennials and Gen Xers, each generation, has become who they are because of what's happened. And so, instead of pointing fingers, we need to be saying, your experiences have created this in you. How can we work together to make sure that those negative things aren't affecting future generations and those
Yeah.
positive things are affecting them? So it's not about, I'm kind of proud to be a boomer actually,
Yeah.
but that being said, it's not about good or bad, it's about taking the best from all of them to
And
make a
making
difference.
it work and making it better instead of, yeah. That's another thing too, you don't see, like even in federal government, you know, as of right now, the country is as divided as it could possibly be. And
Mhm.
it's really unfortunate, and it's, you know, for people like us, it's kinda scary really, because how much worse can it get?
Well,
Who knows? You know?
absolutely, it's very scary, but I will tell you, without going to either side politically,
Yeah.
I think that there's good in both parties, and if we can just come together, things will be better for everyone. But that being said, it can get worse. I mean, the Civil War was
Yeah,
pretty darn
yeah, it
bad.
was bad,
Okay,
for sure.
so we were pretty divided then.
Yeah.
And I remember I was a young woman, during Watergate.
Okay.
Okay, and everyone thought we would never recover, and we have. I believe in the Constitution, I believe that the people, most people truly want it to get better, and this is where you guys come in.
Yeah.
You come in and say, the status quo is not good enough, it's not working for me, and we will make it better. And I know you will, I know you will. Young people like you who want to be engaged and make a difference, your voices will be heard. And if I can help you do that, I'll be happy
Yeah,
to.
I really appreciate that, and you're doing that by being on this show.
Mhm.
I mean, that's why I'm so excited to do it, and I've been looking forward to it.
I have
So,
to,
yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to.
So, this is a thing too, that like, it's like, as we were saying, the division, it's like compromise is almost not even a thing anymore. And that's how the Constitution was founded. Without compromise, we wouldn't even have it. So we can't even do the
Absolutely.
one principle that
Absolutely.
developed our Constitution, and that's something I know Mrs. Conrad, we talk about it in her class a lot too, and it's very unfortunate.
Well, and compromise comes from understanding that we have to find the one thing we can agree on. The one thing, I don't care how minute it is.
Yeah.
And for me, that one thing is, I think we should be saying is, I believe in the Constitution, and let's build from there. Now, me, on a personal note, I'm a person of faith. Now, I don't judge people who are not, but for me, that's my line in the sand. I will compromise on that, but I'll listen, I won't judge you.
Yeah.
But can we agree that it's important that people have the ability to practice their faith? Yes, then let's build on that. Or the ability not to practice if they are atheist or agnostic.
Gotcha,
So.
for sure, yeah. And so, that was another thing I remember from when you came to the high school.
Mhm.
Somebody asked you the question when you were here, you know, you ran as a Democrat, correct, in the
Correct.
election?
Mhm.
But your signs were red, that you were posting throughout, you know, the
The
campaign,
community,
yeah, the
yeah.
campaign signs were red.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna let you say it again, because it really, like, I remember exactly what you said,
Absolutely.
but I would like you to say it again about how really, I'll just let you go ahead and do it,
okay,
if you
sure.
remember what I'm talking about, I'm
So the
sure.
question
Yeah.
came from the students, you know, if you're a Democrat, why do you have red signs?
Yeah.
Red are the signs for Republican,
Yeah.
that's the Republican color, and blue is
Yeah.
Democrat. And I said, so you don't remember it, but I remember a time when there was no red states or blue states, it was all the United States under the red, white, and blue.
Mhm.
I chose red because I graduated from Twin Lakes. I
Yeah.
used red when I ran for county treasurer, when I ran for city council, for me, it was my way of giving honor to my alma mater here
Yeah.
at Twin Lakes. And frankly, I was very happy to have that question, because it's important that we don't paint everyone with the same
Uh-huh.
brush, you know?
For sure.
I, over the years, I've had people say to me, I know you're a person of faith, but I didn't know you could be a Democrat and believe.
Yeah.
And I've said, really? It just is beyond my comprehension that we have gotten that far,
Far,
that we
yeah.
paint everyone with the same brush.
You're either red or blue, you can't.
That's
do
right.
both.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so awesome, because really you did run as a Democrat, but it seems to me like you're more than just that.
I hope
You're
so.
You're a, level-minded politician that's willing to accept both sides. And that's something I think everybody wants to see, not only in the bigger government levels, but even your county mayor, or
Well,
city mayor. Yeah.
Well, and truthfully, all politics are local.
Yeah.
It's all grassroots. The things we do here affect everything on up the feed chain, if you will.
Yeah.
But I kind of go back and, you use the term politician.
Yeah.
And I, for me, and it's just me, because politics have taken on such a negative.
Yeah. That's why I was
I-
kind of afraid to use it, but I had to. I could think of a
Perfect,
different word.
it's
Yeah.
perfect, it's
Yeah.
perfect, because there are politicians and there are public servants.
Mhm.
And I firmly believe I'm a public servant. I don't serve one party or another, I serve everyone. I don't serve one generation or another, I
Yeah.
represent everyone.
That is
So-
awesome. I can definitely, yeah, like you said, I can tell throughout this whole conversation that's something that you're really tying together. It's not just about one or the other, it's about everybody. And that really means a lot. I know to me, I'm sure a lot of people listening, it means a lot too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that the things that are going to happen in this community moving forward, be it the river walk that we're working on, the remodeling of the old fire station, creating more recreational spaces with a mind to environmentally sound practices, making sure that everything we're doing, we're saving for you.
Investing in the future.
Absolutely, perfect, Colby.
That's awesome.
And I just know that, the more we work together, the quicker it'll come.
Yeah, cause I saw, this is kind of different too, but it's some clock that you can, I forget what it's called.
It's called the doomsday
The
clock.
doomsday clock. We're at
Yes.
100 seconds till midnight.
I know it, it's
And if we don't
scary,
do
isn't
something
it?
about it, yeah,
Yep,
that is very concerning.
yeah,
Sure.
and I know that that's kind of a political hot potato,
Yeah,
the whole,
For sure.
green versus not,
Yeah, red
and
versus blue and
yeah.
that too, yeah.
climate change. But here, again, let's find that common denominator, and I think all of us here can say, I wanna protect the lakes in Tippecanoe River.
Yeah, cause that is our,
Right, so that's not
Yeah.
Republican or Democrat, that's protecting our environment, let's start there and
Yeah.
forget that other stuff.
I mean, we are called Twin Lakes High School. I
Absolutely,
mean, those lakes mean a lot to a lot of people.
absolutely.
Really, everybody in Monticello.
And the
Sure.
county.
Yeah.
Now, we're very fortunate because of our natural resources and because of the efforts of prior public servants,
Yeah.
our economy is kind of divided in three ways. So we have manufacturing, that's a third, we have agriculture, that's about a third, and we have tourism, which is highly dependent upon our, environment.
Yeah.
Okay, but that being said, so long ago and far away, when we had more factories than we have today,
Yeah.
as those factories started closing, our agriculture and our tourism kept us afloat until we could readjust and bring in new industry. The same when agriculture has a bad year
Yeah.
or something happens, we have our industry and our tourism. And so it's that ebb and flow and making sure we're diverse, not only in our, financial infrastructure, but in our community, that keeps us viable.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Perfect,
Yeah.
you got it.
So you drop it,
You
you're in
said
trouble.
that much better than I did.
Yeah. That's funny. And, so, what is really, you were just kind of talking, hinting a little bit at some ideas you have. Do you kind of wanna, maybe if you're willing to talk about some ideas you're thinking
Sure,
about?
sure. You know, nothing is carved in stone, and we need to talk with future partners.
Yeah.
But I want to see a green initiative for the community. And again, it's not about red or blue, Republican or Democrat, it's about conserving and protecting the environment we're in today. And, in part, I want to do that because, you know, White County, is known as the leader in the state of Indiana for renewable energy. We have the wind turbines, we have Biotown, we have the.
Dams, do those count too?
Well, they do, they
Yeah, I
actually,
wonder
for
if they did.
hydropower.
Yeah.
As well as the landfills, because methane gas is created for
Okay.
that. So White County is a leader, not only in the state, but the Midwest. So it's right and
Really?
fitting that Monticello should get on that bandwagon and give more than lip service, but really start making some concrete changes in how we conserve our community resources. And that's where I'm hoping, of course, this youth council will pick their own initiative,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping they'll consider something like that. But you may know something more important or something you want to invest in, but that's just one idea. You know, we have the old fire station.
Mhm.
I would like to, keep the history, you know.
Okay.
The original city hall portion, was built at the turn of the last century, so we're over 100 years old. And so I think we need to make sure that we value our history, protect it, but be innovative as well. So use some more of those spaces for maybe an innovation center.
Okay,
And-
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, really what you were thinking.
Absolutely.
Okay, That's
Uh,
awesome.
But we would need public-private partnership to do
Mhm.
that. And maybe find someone who wants to put in a little brewery. Well, when that,
Gotcha.
well, no, too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
But
it's some
how about
good-
a
yeah,
coffee shop?
Yeah, coffee
There we
shop,
go.
yeah, something, I see what
Uh-huh.
you're saying.
Right, but-
Just businesses in that area, but
Uh-huh.
maintaining the integrity of the.
Yeah, absolutely. Or a diner. Can you imagine in the summer opening those bay doors at the old
Yeah.
fire department, having the tables out there and, you know, a venue where people can come play and sing.
Enjoy the city, 'cause
Yeah.
that's really the middle of the city, kind of
Absolutely.
Main
You
Street,
got it.
yeah,
Yep.
for sure. And then, speaking of the fire station, it makes me think about the new fire station, we went in there for our football draft, that's very nice.
It is,
It's
isn't
really
it?
exciting that our, city got a fire station like that.
And I'll, you know, talk about the prior city council and the mayor. They were able to do that without raising taxes by 1 penny.
That's impressive,
That
cause that
was-
is if no one's been in there, it is
You
I don't know
bet.
if you can
You
schedule
can.
visits, but you should.
You should.
It is an awesome facility.
That is a testament to interlocal government agreements. That was made possible because of a relationship between city and county. The county, the city was able to build a new fire station because the county was able to loan them the money. So we didn't have to have a bond, we didn't have to raise taxes, and it was to be paid over 10 years, but I believe we'll have it paid off this year.
That's
So-
awesome.
So
That's
again,
awesome.
you know, that's about working together, because the city fire department also provides ambulance service for
Mhm.
most of White County and part of Carroll County.
That's
So
very
it was for
important.
everyone's
Yeah.
benefit, yeah.
Yeah, that's extremely important. Like, okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just one little thing more about the fire department, and that is, you know, if you go there now, you may see these containers that are like on ships and those sort of things. Those containers are coming from a district for, Homeland Security, and Monticello is going to be a training station
Okay.
for all of the district in Indiana to prepare, you know, for major events. It's gonna be very exciting.
Okay, yeah, that is interesting. Could you expand on that a little bit, or is
Well,
it still kind of?
Well, it's, there's still that big pile of dirt back there.
Okay,
So,
alright.
Fire Chief Logan and Assistant
Mhm.
Chief Craig Green are working hard to get those containers where they need to be so they can be utilized for training. We're hoping to see that happen yet this year, but I don't
Okay.
want to say it will and it not. So
Okay.
let's just say fingers crossed, we'll see that.
So
soon.
what kind of like training are you talking about for?
Well, so,
Can you expand on that?
yeah.
Or- I didn't know, I don't wanna.
No,
ask any
no,
questions
it's
that
all
can't be
good.
Can't be answered.
So, for example, a burning fire.
Okay.
So you can put something in one of those containers that simulates going into a burning house. And the firefighters
okay.
can go in and extinguish. Or like, you can position them in different ways and say, someone's fallen down into a well, a hole, a grain bin, and how they can rappel down and do
Okay.
that. So even, pardon me, even, like natural disasters, tornadoes, and things fall down on people. How do you safely go in and remove that from them without damaging and that sort of thing? A myriad of disaster scenarios.
They can
would-
simulate.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, wow.
Mhm.
So that area, it's kind of it's still cornfields,
Yes,
most of the
it
area
is.
around there.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea? Cause it seems like they're preparing for more, there's gotta be more coming.
Well-
I think some of that land's for sale, isn't it?
Well,
And
yes,
They
and-
just, on the street Eduardo lives on, I don't know what street is that? Gordon Street,
Oh,
they just.
Gordon Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, they put the,
The
made it a
intermodal trail,
three-way,
yeah, absolutely. Well, what we, in city planning, what we're trying to do is make sure that every part of the city has access to downtown and to schools and parks in a safe way.
Okay.
So, for years, there was no sidewalk on South Street or Gordon Road to get people safely from Main Street to Sixth Street. And on Sixth Street, now you have the hospital, the fire
Yeah.
department, the Brandon
and who
line.
knows what could be coming.
Absolutely.
Cause I'm telling you, that's all cornfield and it'll probably just be a
Yep.
matter of time.
And that is part of our TIF district, and that's kind of a, in the weeds kind of, conversation. But
Gotcha.
it's tax increment finance, which means the community benefits as do the people who choose to invest in that area. But that's the kind of,
Yeah.
like I said, in the weeds. But,
Yeah.
so, to answer your question, yes, we hope to see that corridor developed, but we need to make sure it's being developed in a sustainable and, not just profitable for the people who, build there, but for the community.
Yeah.
Make sure that anything that comes in there isn't gonna be
Yeah,
fly
one
by
hit
night.
wonder, yeah,
Absolutely.
I see what you're saying.
That, we're judicious about that. And, we also have, goals to put sidewalk on Washington Street west to Walmart.
Okay.
Now, the reason that's important is because we have people with disabilities, moms with strollers, that are walking on the highway, on Broadway, there at 24 and 6th, to get to Walmart. That's very dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a state highway, it's very busy,
Mhm.
so let's try and give them access a block north. And of course, if it goes to Walmart, it'll walk from Walmart too.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
those people who are saying we're trying to get people to go to Walmart,
Yeah.
no, those that are going there, we want them to do that in a safe way.
Mhm.
And I believe we can coexist. I believe we can have our Walmarts and still see investment in our downtown. It's trying to find those businesses, entities, entrepreneurs that are ready to invest there, because we all benefit from both.
Yeah, for sure, especially like, cause for the longest time, it's my parents always, and my grandparents even, cause my grandparents live on the lake, not far from Indiana Beach. They always talk about, man, I can really remember in Indiana Beach was like the thing to do. And unfortunately, it's not, I'm not throwing shots at anybody, but it's not, from the way they talk about it, it's not the same as it has been.
It is
You
not.
know, because I remember they would say there would be a lot of like public events there, almost like they would have dances and I don't know, they still might do that or not, but having other things, cause Indiana Beach is important, but it's a summertime thing. Having other things that, you know, like in the wintertime, other things that we can do, especially for young people and older people, would be
You bet.
definitely awesome.
Well, and I think what we need to do is remember that, Indiana Beach is an important asset,
Mhm.
but it's just one tool in our toolbox.
Yeah.
And if we don't protect the lakes, that tool's not gonna be valid.
Yeah.
So we just need to make sure that we are being good partners with everyone, that we don't favor one industry over another, and that when we look at a picture, we try and think outside the box and say, who will this affect in a good way and maybe in a bad way? And heaven knows, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I don't have,
That's why you have advisors and people to
that's
help you
right.
out, yeah.
And I have my perspective, but I'm only responsible for mine. That's why the more young people we have, the different, age groups, if you will, they see things in a different lens.
Mhm.
And, so anyway,
Yeah,
that's my goal.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, for sure. And, so here's maybe my dummy question of the day, maybe
No
not, I
such
don't know.
thing.
But, so, this is the question I was thinking, but I'm sure a lot of people are thinking too, cause I know everybody says the mayor is really like, affects you the most out of any politician that you can vote or not.
Right, it's all
Public
right, it's
servant,
good,
there
it's
it
all
is.
good,
I
Colby.
remembered it now, public
It's all
servant that
good.
you can vote for, really.
Mhm.
So like, what really does the mayor do? If you could explain to people
Sure.
a little bit.
So the mayor, is the executive of the city. So is responsible for appointing department heads, making sure that our police, fire, streets, water, wastewater, and parks are running well, efficiently, safely, and within budget. Making sure that our employees are not only, doing what they need to do for the public, but being treated with respect. I firmly believe that our employees are our best ambassadors and our most important assets in the community. They are first on the line. So we need to make sure that they feel valued. The executive also, is responsible for creating a budget, a funded, balanced budget in a responsible way. And you do that by working with your department heads. And then that budget goes to the city council, and they hold the purse strings. They create the ordinances, and they determine if they're going to pass that budget or not. Then there's the Board of Public Works and Safety. They're like the additional arm to the mayor. So personnel issues and contracts are discussed at Board of Public Works and Safety meetings. But I think I can boil it down to something, pretty simple that happened to me the day after the election. There's a young man with special needs who occasionally would come up to the office and just talk to me. In my role as ADA coordinator, we got to be friends.
Yeah.
So the day after the election, he actually came in and he said, Kathy, now that you're mayor, does that mean you're the boss of everybody? And I said, well, you know what? What it really means is everybody is my boss, because it's
Okay.
my job to be responsive to everyone. So everybody's my boss. And he put his hands on his hips and he said, well, what did you want that for?
Yeah.
So I can sum that up that way, but what I can say, and I know it's early, I know I'm still in my honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you, we've had some issues and challenges that we've been able to address because we all work together. And that for the most part, even the people who call and complain, all they want is to be heard. If you listen to them and give them respect, you're not going to make everyone happy. But if you can explain to them how or why you can't make something happen for them, for the most part. Not
Oh, I
that there aren't
understand, yeah.
bad people out
Yeah.
there, but for the most part, if they feel valued and respected, it goes a very long way.
Gotcha. So, does most of your day then really, it seems like consists of kind of like meetings and stuff, getting words from these people and trying to tie it all together?
Absolutely.
Is like a day in the life of
Yes.
the new mayor consists of a lot of meetings.
Well, yes, especially when you're newly elected,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of businesses who want to develop a relationship with you. We have a lot of vendors, engineering firms and companies that we work with on a daily basis for our wastewater, our water, our police. Every department have vendors and businesses that work with them. So for the most part, my department heads say, I would like you to meet this XYZ business owner because
Okay.
he does a good job with this. And what we know is that the more successful communities are successful because they have relationship with the people they contract with, whether it be a business, their employee, or their community. So, as a newly elected mayor, I'm spending a lot of time meeting a lot of wonderful people. And when I can then, I spend a lot of time reading,
Yeah.
getting caught up on where we are with our budget, where we stand, what are our needs. You know, we have 12 major projects going on right now that the community probably doesn't even know about.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, not that they can't, anybody's welcome to come in the office and I'll show you my whiteboard that shows what we're working on. It's open to public, it's your money, we represent you. But the fact that they don't know tells me that everything's working.
Yeah, that's good. There's just not a lot of questions being asked,
Right.
and you'd like to think you're doing a good job.
I would like
Yeah.
to think that.
Yeah, yeah, so that's another thing I was kinda wondering, cause you seem like you're really enjoying the new role as the mayor, and it seems like a very positive thing, but I'm sure it's just as tough and stressful as any other job can become, and I'm sure, especially the mayor, in learning how to, figure out how to handle that stress and stuff. How's that going for you? Is
Well,
that-
very well.
I'm glad, I'm really glad about that.
Me
'cause I'm
too.
sure.
Well, and I credit that to my department heads,
Yeah.
because, they're not new in their job.
Yeah.
This isn't their first rodeo.
Mhm.
And if there's a concern or a challenge, we sit down and we work it out together. And, ultimately, some of these decisions come to me, I have to make it.
Yeah.
But I won't do that without talking to them and saying, have you had this in the past? When you addressed it, was it successful? How would you do it differently moving forward? Making sure that we keep those lines of communication open. Now, that, I can tell you that I'm putting in an awful lot of hours, but
Mhm.
I'm doing it because I want to.
Yeah.
I think I have to, others may not feel
Yeah.
that way, but I have a great support staff at the office and at home. No elected official does this without the support of their family.
Mhm.
And if they do, and they don't have their family support, I pity them, because I could not do it
Could be.
without my husband and my kids, my grandkids.
That's awesome. So you find peace in those, not only your family, but the people that are advising you, and it seems like they're very willing to help, obviously, because they wanna, make the community just as good as possible, but that is cool that you can have department heads that have accepted the new mayor, it seems like already, and they're just helping you through the process.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure, cause I don't know, they department heads, they get elected, or they,
No,
like,
they are
they're
appointed by the
appointed?
mayor.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
a new mayor can come in and say, I'm gonna clean house.
Clean house and get all
And
my
get
own
all
people.
new, or can come in and say, it's dependent upon that person. I personally believe there's a lot of value in institutional knowledge. People who have worked the job, understand it. There's no way I am an expert in police, fire,
Yeah.
street, there is no way. I couldn't even pretend to be. But it is important that the mayor be able to trust their appointee. So you have a conversation and you say, this is my vision for you, your department. What is your vision? Do they match? Can we work together? If you'd like to see something else, tell me how and why. And then, let's try it. And if at the end of 6 months or a year, you don't think you can work with me, then we'll have another conversation, or vice versa.
Yeah.
That path goes both ways.
Yeah.
But we are so fortunate in this city that they not only work well with me, they work well with each other.
That's good.
So
And that's hard to find.
Absolutely.
That is a testament to them for sure, and you.
So I'll give you an example. So, in the fall, we planted all these trees down South Main Street where the new sidewalks had come in. Well, our street department, we normally take care of that, but our wastewater treatment, plant has a thing called a vacuum truck. Well, it was much easier for them to come up and use that truck to prepare the hole in soil for our street department to put in. So they worked together and said,
Yeah.
let's, similarly, when we get a big snow, our water and our wastewater come in and help our street department. And our street department helps them. Our fire and police, not only do they work within the city, but they support our county, officers, our state officers, and they depend on each other. And without that relationship, again, it all goes back to relationship.
Yeah.
It would be a very different community.
Yeah, for sure. So are you dealing then with a lot of the same people that Mayor Houston had too, or, I don't wanna.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, I was just making sure.
I'm very proud
Yeah.
to say that, Frank Arthur is our street superintendent. Mayor Houston appointed him when Doug Roberts retired. He had been street superintendent for, many years, 20, 25 years, maybe even more. Mitch Ballou has been our parks superintendent for, I know, 25 years or more. Now, I do wanna talk about parks a little bit, parks, when it comes to, municipal budgeting, we know we have to keep the water running, the toilets flushing,
Yeah.
the streets open, and our fire and police, our public safety. But parks are very important too, as we consider livable communities and providing an environment where people want to live. But Mitch Ballou, takes care of 7 parks with himself and 2 full-time employees. That's
Really?
pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that is.
So-
That's, I'm sure, a tough job.
So there's, and they are called public works, street and parks. Public utilities are the water and wastewater, and then public safety are fire and police. Public utilities, we have Rod Poole. He actually graduated with me, so he's old like me, but he has a lot of that institutional knowledge too. He could, if he were here today, and this might be someone you might wanna talk to as a
Okay.
podcast, he could tell you pretty much where every pipe is under the ground in the
geez.
city of Lonsdale. It is
Crazy.
phenomenal.
My grandpa thinks he can too, but he does it with,
Oh.
have you ever seen what are they, the metal hangers, like clothes hangers?
Yeah,
That they
yeah.
turn?
Uh-huh.
But-
Yeah, a divining rod like
He thinks
that.
he's got some sort of wizard magic
Yeah.
when he does it.
I
It's just
love
funny.
it.
But I will say, he has yet to be wrong.
There you go. See,
Yeah.
some of those old things,
Yeah.
everything old is
They
new.
work.
You bet. So there's Rod, and then there's Adam Downey with our wastewater. He's actually, I think he's probably a Gen Xer, so we're very happy that this young man wanted to come and serve our community. And he is just phenomenal. And then, we did interview for public safety, that would be chief of police and fire, because
Okay.
Randy Soliday had already put in for retirement. He had been our
Okay.
police chief. So we just went ahead and opened it up, and I received resumes, and I put together, I called them my dream teams.
Yeah.
Because I could not even begin to know the right questions to ask for a police chief, let alone what those right answers would be. And the same for the fire department. So I reached back and contacted two former fire chiefs and a fire captain, as well as police chiefs and deputies through the county. And they helped me do these interviews, and they gave me the recommendations. Now, does that mean that we always agreed? No, and it
Yeah.
had to be my decision. I felt like I put together a team so that I was doing my job,
Yeah,
to know the right
for
questions.
sure, being with informed people.
Yes.
Obviously makes you more informed too, because they
You
have
got it.
a lot of knowledge for sure. So, another question I was thinking about asking you too was like, so is a mayor, you're elected for 4 years,
4
right?
years,
And then
uh-huh.
you get a chance to get, is it like presidency, you get a chance to go again, and
Okay.
get another 4, or how's that?
Right.
This might be a dumb question too, I'm
It
sure,
is
but-
not, there is no such thing. So, mayors are not term limited. So a mayor can serve as long as they're elected.
Okay.
So, you know,
Okay.
there are mayors in the state that are on their 4th and 5th term.
Mhm.
They're like 20 years into being mayor. Whereas the president is is 2 4-year terms. Many county offices are limited. County treasurer, county clerk, county auditor, county sheriff are limited to 2 4-year terms. But mayors, as long as they're elected, they can continue to serve.
So how long was Mayor Houston then mayor, was he?
He served for 2 years,
2
I'm sorry,
or
2 terms.
So 8.
Right, 8
Okay.
years, and then he opted to run, for city council at large. And, when he decided to do that, he asked me if I would be interested in running for mayor.
Gotcha.
And, you know, many people don't realize this, but the mayor doesn't get a vote. When we're talking about passing an ordinance or a resolution or, something like that, city council has a vote, but the mayor has no vote unless there's a tie. Well, the only way there's
Okay.
gonna be a tie is if one of your counselors are not able to attend. So that's what Mayor Houston said. When I said, why are you not running? And he said, I wanna vote. So
Yeah.
I get that, I get that.
So, is there anything else you can think about that you would like to talk about, or
Well,
anything we missed?
I don't, you
I feel
know,
like we've
I'm a
covered-
napper. I could talk forever.
I feel like we've covered a pretty good amount, especially because we
too.
had our meeting after Christmas, the day after Christmas, actually. I
Right.
got to meet with you for the first time, so.
Yeah.
Just goes to show, that was before you even took office as
That's
mayor. You were
right.
still, so you're already working then.
Yes,
Day
I
after
was.
Christmas, getting
I was
prepared.
doing interviews, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
she was the fire,
Uh-huh.
chief, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Fire.
well, I want to say
Yeah.
thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. And I am very serious. If you would at any point want to talk to any of our department heads,
For
you
sure.
know, Chief Linkenfelter, Chief Logan, Assistant Chief Green, or Assistant Chief Stroop,
Okay.
I will encourage them to come,
That's
okay?
awesome, we'll have to
Okay.
get some people to talk, hopefully some people comment or let me know, maybe let you know too.
Absolutely. That
You
would be
said
great.
we're gonna
Yeah.
get this posted on YouTube for TL Tribe, and you said you're gonna work on the City of Monticello
Yes,
website?
yes, once you get
That
it
too?
where you want it,
Okay,
you send that to me,
Yeah.
and we'll work with our tech people, which I'm not one.
Yeah.
So,
once
but
again, people that know more than
That's
you do about their
right.
specific thing, you help them out,
That's
for sure.
delegating.
Yeah.
So I thank you for what you're doing, and I know you are going to change the world.
Thank
So,
you, thank you.
Thank you.
And, I guess I got one more question, so this will be the
Absolutely.
final question, this is,
Yes.
I asked Mr. Mannering this too, so I figured, maybe I can make this my thing.
You bet.
How would you like to be remembered as the mayor of Monticello? Or not even just that,
Yeah.
but just as,
I think,
Afterwards.
there are a couple things. The first is, and foremost, is a kind human, that, I served with humility, and I had a heart to serve. That I hope and pray that people know that this has never been about me. It has always been about me serving others. And if if at the end of my time, they just put on my tombstone, she served, I would be happy.
Yeah, that's
So-
awesome.
Anyway,
For sure, I definitely got that vibe from just speaking with you today, and I'm sure, you know, you haven't had enough time yet as mayor to really, I'm sure you're working your hardest, and it's
Right.
spreading by the day, but it'll just keep spreading.
a
So,
lot to do.
That's awesome, and then I would like to thank Mrs. Conrad real quick for giving me, she actually gave me your email, so
Oh,
I could reach out to
absolutely.
you. So
Well,
I-
thank you,
yeah,
Mrs.
Yeah, I would like to
Conrad.
thank
Yeah.
her for that, and then, that's
Okay,
it. Thank you.
wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Colby.
you.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
gentlemen.